They made it clear that I was different, unusual, strange, and that my differences were almost unacceptable. I think also that a lot of it is about choice. You know, I made the decision to go into the pub, to get the drink, to pay for it, and drink again, to drink again, and drink and drink and drink. I made that choice. I made the choice to go to the kitchen to get a knife to attack the person, because I didn't have a solution. It just didn't occur to me. I wish I had. It didn't.
Rarely seen, little known, the world of forensic psychiatry is a mystery to most of us.
We deal with the most complex and risky individuals in our country.
Staff at the Bethlem Royal Hospital work in one of the most dangerous parts of the NHS, treating extreme paranoia.
I said nicely, please, 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 you're getting me mad, you're gonna make me lose the plot.
And violence.
And what if I hit you in the face, what are you gonna do?
On a daily basis.
If I don't change, I'm going to drink, and if I drink, I'm going to re-offend.
These patients have committed some very violent crimes.
I set about carving the geezer up with a razor blade.
You have to learn to live with what you've done.
And most are here because they've been judged too mentally ill to be in prison.
There's a long history of violence when he's psychotic, and he's really been very threatening, very aggressive indeed.
But how do you contain people who pose such a threat to the public? Can you make them well again?
I've just got to, show him, Daddy's not angry Daddy anymore, he's getting better.
And is it possible for some of the most dangerously unwell people in Britain ever to rejoin the outside world?
Don't want to see me go out there, because they know what I'm like outside.
I can understand why certain elements of society just don't want to give people like me another chance.
The Bethlem Royal in South London houses 120 mentally disordered offenders. A bed here costs 4 times more than one in prison.
So we're in effect really working with patients who are mentally sick and have been involved in serious crime. We're not talking about minor offending, but major acts of violence such as homicide, serious sexual violence, and patients are complicated further by having very complex emotional and mental health issues.
250 staff work on these wards, and their aim is to reduce the patient's risk to a level where one day they can be safely discharged.
Oh, mate, thank you.
A great majority of offenders will be discharged at some point, but the time taken to achieve that discharge might be one of a few months through to even perhaps many years, even a decade.
James came to the Bethlem Royal from prison 2.5 years ago. For the last month, he's been allowed to venture outside the locked doors of the wards.
This is River House. This holds about 8 wards, 6 to 8 wards, all different illnesses, acute, all different, you know what I mean, yeah? You've got to be on buddy, you know what I mean, yeah? Got to be on a tagging system for like, I don't know, 6 months to 8 months. It's baby steps at a time, but it's all progression, A couple of months, I could be up the high road with an escort, looking for voluntary work in the community. The word's my oyster, it's what I make of it.
James is serving a life sentence for committing a violent attack while in prison. He's been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and has been undergoing long-term psychological therapy.
A lot of this is like, therapy work, folders and folders and folders, and this is all about my history, where I've gone wrong, you know what I'm saying, yeah? It's just working, it's just working through things to help me improve my chances of making it out there, do you know what I mean, yeah?
So he's completed the main treatment programme on the unit. Although he's made quite a lot of good progress, he certainly has been involved in quite a few incidents in the ward. Been verbally abusive, made threats to kill, really quite serious incidents.
I'll give you a shout when we need to lock it, yeah?
And I think the difficulty that we have is trying to reconcile the fact that he's saying he wants to change and that he's keen to continue to work with the fact that he's continuing to engage in that kind of antisocial behaviour.
Lovely, mate. Cheers. Antisocial behaviour, to me, I'm 45, so let's just say I've had, at the age of 15, I've had 3 decades of it. That's not something you can just discard and put away overnight. Rome weren't built in a day, you know what I mean, yeah? Antisocial at the time, behaviour to me was my identity. It was about who I was, you know what I mean, yeah? To put it down and just say, right, I'm not gonna be this way anymore, it don't happen that way.
Do you plan to get out of here?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean, yeah?
This painting here, which I finished a couple of days ago. So there was 2 titles. The first one was Bend Double in Anguish, like a tree in a storm, or Sometimes a River, and I opted for Sometimes a River. It was easier to manage.
John has been in secure institutions for 22 years. Growing up in Zimbabwe, he had corrective surgery for a rare birth defect.
I mean, a lot of my friends just accepted me, but there was a minority who didn't. They made it clear that I was different, unusual, strange, and that played on my confidence and my self-esteem, really, you know. And one of the ways that I thought I'd combat the feelings that produced later on was to drink. And that just magnified some of those feelings that I already had.
John has a personality disorder, and when he drinks, he can be unpredictably violent.
This is a timeline. So these are historical events, significant events in my life that may have had a psychological, emotional impact on me in some way. This forms part of the violent reduction program. So these are highs and lows. So a low, for example, would be as a child being bullied, some sexual abuse, and this is my index offence. It's the primary offence. I stabbed a man several times. I spent the night drinking with him. I was drinking out of a can in his lounge, and I said, could I get a glass for the beer? And he directed me to the kitchen. And when I went to the kitchen, I started opening up the cupboards, but I completely forgot why I was in the kitchen. And I saw a block of knives, and I came back out with a carving knife, and I attacked him.
They can do a huge amount of therapy, understanding their offending history, their offence, their risk profile, but at some point you've got to test it out with reality. You've got to be outside the hospital to see how you manage with community life, the stresses, the challenges of being in a big city like London.
Today, John is facing those challenges. After decades inside, he has permission to go into the local community without a member of staff.
It's really quite exhilarating. Being unaccompanied, being on my own, feels quite liberating.
Everyone's fascinated by the concept of extreme violence, murder, mental illness. The sort of terminology that the News of the World always used was the stock phrase, scum of the earth. It's a very powerful statement, isn't it? Scum of the earth. They're very conscious of that. Our patients obviously want to return back to the community in a safe and successful way. I suspect often the public would wish they stayed here perhaps indefinitely. Most of them would see them as sick, dangerous and nasty individuals. We have to, in many ways, persuade them that what we're doing is safe, thought through and very responsible.
I might experience anxiety, and I do every day. But there are varying intensities and depths to that. And most of the time, it's just, it's manageable. It's just, it's okay. I'm okay. If I'm okay, you're okay, we're all right. Random things will happen. That's life. It just feels unmanageable. That's me, my mind playing tricks on me. So I don't engage with that. I stick to my plan. What everyone else is doing, that's their plan. My plan is different. My plan is looking after me, mate.
One of his problems is that when things don't go according to plan, or when others make mistakes, or when things are unpredictable, he gets very stressed, very anxious. And in the past, he has coped by drinking alcohol, taking illicit drugs. That would lead to a risk of violence to others.
When I was a child and I did something wrong, I was very aware that I've done something wrong. But you have that sense of, I'm in trouble. And I've been in situations where I've had a sense of being in trouble or done something wrong or panic, that I have to phone somebody. And invariably what I do is I phone the police.
John phoned the police in 1998 after he stabbed a man he'd been drinking with. He was found guilty of attempted murder.
At the time when the police officer arrested me, asked me how many times did I stab, and in my mind it was once. My mind had completely censored the whole event, and that it seemed like it was only once, but in actual fact it was 13 times.
Hello, Ugo, it's Helen Bristow here. Tony, is he up and about? He was supposed to be ready, I think. I've got to go through his risk assessment. Hi, Mike. Can you just do us a favour? Is Tony, is he up and about?
The Bethlem Royal Hospital treats mentally ill offenders who pose a risk of violence. Today, ward manager Helen is getting a patient ready to see his clinical team. They want to decide if he's safe to go outside the hospital on his own.
Oh, good heavens. Tony, are you decent? Hi. Do you remember we spoke about it yesterday? It's 2:15 in the afternoon. Just let's get up and about. As I don't think it looks awfully good, you spending all day in bed, really. So, come on, let's see some action. All right, lovely. Thanks very much, Mike, that's great.
Tony's been in and out of secure institutions since he was 18. He's been diagnosed with a personality disorder and paranoid schizophrenia.
Tony's got a risk of aggression and violence when he's unwell. And when he's unwell, he does tend to use illicit substances. And so when he uses these substances, he becomes even more risky. He has attacked staff on the ward. And then when he's out in the community previously, he's attacked people when he's been unwell and under the influence of substances.
I reckon we should all have a fight. I'm not a lad.
We've got a total of 36 convictions since 1997. That's quite a high number.
Oh, yeah. What's his well coming to, eh?
He's still quite a risk. His parents are quite worried about him absconding, about the risk of violence and aggression, the risk of him using drugs on the outside. And it's only fairly recently that he's been using illicit substances here on the ward.
Tony's recovery is at risk from the legal highs in cannabis that, despite tight security, are smuggled onto the ward by patients on leave.
Tony has a great difficulty in understanding the dangers of drugs and of how those substances change his mental state and turn him into somebody who we would consider dangerous.
To be fair with Tony, he has been trying. He's certainly making good improvements, but I think it's just a little step too far to give him unescorted leave at the minute.
You could have done with a shave, but never mind. I don't know why you're languishing in bed for.
Got no toothpaste or nothing.
Well, we'll get some. We shall organise it. Why on earth didn't you tell me that yesterday?
He has no concept of the fear that has been engendered in his family and people around him when he becomes angry or aggressive or violent. Let's see him then and see what he says. So our job is to try and help him understand what he needs to be before he can get that unescorted leave. First of all, what I'd like to say is that in general, I think we're all agreed that you've been doing really well, and we're all working towards you eventually being discharged from hospital. Yeah. But I think it's a little bit too soon to think of unescorted leave.
The best thing that you can do is carry on with your medication, carry on with the groups, and the biggest message I can give you is to stay off the legal highs or the drugs.
That's right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to raise?
Yeah, I've got to pull on through. I've got to continue not to... I've got to not fight no one. I've not got to get myself into no bother, keep myself to myself, mind my own business, and get along slowly but surely. Yeah, and take it in respect that the people around me are trying to help me and I'm trying my hardest to cooperate, but there is times I am turning against the staff and thinking, what shall I do, what shall I do, what shall I do? But when it goes quiet and no one explains to me, I don't know how to continue, you know?
Stay off the legal highs,
So
stay off the cannabis.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. All right,
well done.
Thank you.
All right.
Cheers, bye-bye. Bye.
Have any of your patients ever gone on to commit serious offences again?
They have, and I think that's one of the most difficult parts of the job. I mean, risk assessment is clearly not an exact science, and we don't always get it right. On very rare occasions, patients have gone on to commit other offences.
So why take the risk of letting these patients out at all, Dr. Campbell?
I think quite strongly that they should be given that opportunity to address their very real mental health problems rather than just pretending that it's not an issue and keeping people in prison for however long it would need before the risk was reduced, which in many cases would be never.
You ready? Yeah. All right, let's go, mate. We're going to go over to the patient's cafeteria so I can just get myself some...
Because of his sentence, James's first trip out of the hospital must be approved by the Ministry of Justice. So for now, he can only look at the outside world from the perimeter fence.
I try and go up there a couple of times a week just to sort of prepare myself, really, for maybe in a couple of weeks when my community leave's granted, and just familiarise myself with just the comings and goings of life outside these grounds, you know what I mean, yeah? A world carrying on, you know what I mean, yeah? A world getting by without me in it. I've done a lot of growing up, mate, over the last couple of years, but, you know, it's been really hard. Hard actually facing up to shit that I used to make excuses for.
16 years ago, while serving time for armed robbery, James made an unprovoked attack on a fellow inmate. He was given a life sentence.
Trying to fit into a high security status jail, feeling totally out of place. I was trying to sort of make a point that, you know, I'm not here to be bullied by anyone.
I went in a cell with another inmate, you know what I mean, yeah? He punched the geezer up, you know what I mean, yeah? I set about carving the geezer up with a toothbrush and a razor blade. I'd have died in the system, I wouldn't have been released. You know, I lost everything in the process, you know, my ex-partner, my kids, loved them dearly, you know what I mean, yeah? But, you know, I was no good to them, mate. I was out of control, mate, you know what I mean, yeah? I was a villain, I was violent. Why would you want to be involved in someone like that? And now I'm here, been here 2.5 years, I'm on a journey to try and build someone I'm proud of. And I just don't want to go back to that old lifestyle, mate, you know? Not just get out there, I deteriorate, crash, and go back to square one again. I can't do it. I can't afford to do it. You know what I'm saying, yeah? I'd rather take the slowly approach and I'll get it right this time. You know what I mean, yeah?
So what have we done today to get you ready to go out?
I've had a shower.
Yep.
I washed my clothes last night.
That's it.
I've washed my hair.
Yes.
I'm good looking. Check, mic, check, one. Who's on the mic to write the version? It's me. Man, me. I'm on the mic to get you lively. Old title, my lady. Check, mic, 1, 2, 3. Gets out of hand sometimes.
What does?
Just my human being, you know? Start being fucking like an idiot, like silly and that. Makes me after say, whoa, be careful with that, you know?
For 3 weeks, Tony has avoided taking any of the legal highs that get smuggled onto the wards.
Ready to go? Yeah.
His team has allowed him 2 hours out in the local community.
Let's do this.
You got everything you need?
Yeah.
But he won't be going on his own.
Why?
Escorted leave is the first test of a patient's ability to cope with the outside world.
Good to go.
It's something Tony has struggled with since being diagnosed with schizophrenia 18 years ago.
Are you feeling cold?
No, it's all right. It's quite warmish, isn't it?
Yeah, if you say so, if you say so.
He has a long history of absconding from hospitals, often making his way back to his mother's house.
Now you know why I need one-to-one supervision, you know what I mean?
Yeah, why?
Because I wander off, I go on my own missions, you know? Someone's got to stay with me, you know? I don't mind it though, because it helps me out, you know?
Yeah, it's true.
It makes me feel 10 times better about yourself, you know, when you feel like shit and that.
Yeah.
In the past, there have been physical attacks against his parents. Tony's turned up at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, started throwing things at the windows, trying to gain entry into the house. There's been a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety. And I think at the moment it's the first time that his family have felt safe, knowing that he's in a secure hospital and that he can't cause them any more distress.
I would have made it once upon a time, but I fell unwell, you know?
Yeah, you're getting better now, though.
Getting better, yeah.
It'd be any time, 2 in the morning, 10 o'clock at night. Early hours, Tony'd be walking up and down the street, calling me, and I used to block it out, try and block it out. I used to go into the kitchen and stand out in the kitchen so he couldn't have no contact of seeing me.
And what would he shout?
Mum, help me, help me, help me. Heartbreaking. Heartbreaking, knowing that you've tried in your power to do what you can. And it's just heartbreaking.
Doing this is just going to be able to tell that I'm doing all right, you know?
Yeah, you are, yeah.
I'm doing well and that.
Schizophrenia is a chronic condition There are all sorts of psychological treatments that we can employ to try and help them live with those symptoms and cope with them as best they can. But we do have to be always aware that we have our limits too. And that's very difficult to come to terms with. That maybe we've achieved the best we can, but somebody is still unwell.
Is it all right?
You know?
Oh, no. I don't eat bacon.
We have to continue to try, but I think it's a case of balancing always the risk to the public. And it may be that some people can never leave hospital.
This is what I have to cope with. It's a drama.
Why is it a drama?
Oh, look at his boots, you know what I mean? That's just... They've got mud all over them, mate, from yesterday. I can't wear those.
John's been living under lock and key for 22 years.
I can't wear those, mate, you know.
Now, he's been judged safe enough to take daily trips into the local community without an escort.
I mean, we all struggle in this. Oh, I struggle. I have, you know, everyone has difficulties, don't we? We've all got difficulties. You know what I mean? Anyway, you know. Because I do have, like, this image thing, difficulty with myself. And, is it problematic? It has been. You know, self-esteem, confidence, you know, where I perceive myself, you know, like in the 90s when a guy with a camera filming me in my face, all our image, you know, this was on my birthday, and, you know, and I reacted quite aggressively to that. I threatened him with a knife and went to the kitchen.
Just because he was filming you?
Not because he was filming me, it was the reaction that the other people had, as if like, oh, look at you definitely got a funny face, look at your head's like all, you know what I mean? Identifying faults, that's what I felt. I felt like you were identifying faults, you were looking at, you know? I had problems with, because I've got no knuckles. Do you know what I mean? So I can't bend them. So if I punch somebody, you know, that finger's been broken. So I've used a weapon as an extension of this, or as an extension of my rage. So I might have seen a knife as like an injecting all my fear into somebody else, you know?
A few days after threatening the man with the camera, John committed the stabbing that gave him a life sentence. 5 years before that, he used a knife on his girlfriend in a violent, unprovoked attack.
It was a similar pattern. I feel trapped and I do feel a need to kind of try and protect myself because I strongly perceive a danger, a threat. I attacked her and I had stabbed her, and I phoned the police and the ambulance and I was arrested, and I was sentenced to prison for 6 years.
What did you feel about what had happened?
I felt appalled. I felt appalled and disgusted in myself.
The crimes our patients are involved with are very serious. They're very tragic. They're often extreme.
22.
Because of the graveness of their crimes, they won't achieve this thing called atonement, which is almost a sense of self-forgiveness. Our job as a team is to somehow help them bear the enormity of what they've done. And that's a really compelling, but also very complicated piece of work.
I think it's about this process, you know, it's something meaningful and real has to happen, you know, that there has to be like a genuine change. There has to be some understanding about, you know, these events, however difficult they are and painful they are, is to understand why these things happen. This is why I'm in a hospital, and this is why I'm trying to, you know, make amends in some way.
The decision about whether James can start to make short trips outside the hospital has been delayed. Frustrated, he's struggling to contain the anger that has been key to his reoffending.
liberty, proper liberty, bruv. You haven't been here more Stu Shakes, mate, and you're trying to change your rules and all that, you know what I mean? It's diabolical, bruv.
It's about coming in alignment with what other...
Listen, this board's been running for the last 4 years very fine without any interference, yeah? No, hang on, let me finish before we jump on, because I'm left on the wayside time and time again. Do you know how this reflects to...
One of the difficult things with James is the way that he was treated in his early life. I mean, a really terrible history of neglect and abuse, one of the worst that I've seen.
My personality disorders, yeah? I'm not liked, I'm not, you know, and this all feeds back into, like, why don't I fit in? Why don't I being chosen part of this team?
He's not had the opportunities in his early life to develop an idea of how to relate to people, what relationships are for. And I think those difficulties have really been closely related to his offending behaviour.
I'm surfing the urge because, like, internally, I want to scream and shout. That's like part of borderline, you know? It's like unjust. It's like, but I just have to just ride with it, you know what I mean, yeah? You're like a pressure cooker, and it could be the slightest little thing that sets you off, and you're sort of really unrash, you know. It's like taking a dummy off a baby, you know what I mean? Yeah, I could just throw a wobbler, and I don't want that setback, you know what I mean? Yeah, so I just got to refrain myself and just stay calm and just think whatever comes, innit? I'll deal with it. You know, life's passing me by, mate, you know what I mean? Yeah, you know, I'm anxious to sort of just get some form of normality, normal life. I'm like a dog at the lead at the moment, trying to, you know, gnaw it off, mate. I want to get out there and sort myself out, even though I've got a lot of anxiety problems. But I just want to get out there and get my life back on track, mate, you know?
What's up, Tony?
I'm miserable. I've got the hump, I'm pissed off, and my hormones are playing up. It's against my religion, which I don't have a religion, but I'm Church of England. I was bored. Want to get a move on, you know? Make a start of things.
Common misunderstanding is that it's an easier option being forensic psychiatric care compared to them being in prison. I would argue that, in fact, this is the tougher option. When you go to prison, you have an end to the sentence. And the sections that the majority are on here are indefinite. They will go on as long as necessary. Some have been in the secure psychiatric care for decades, and there is no end point.
Oh, mate, I've got to come out of here, mate. As far as I'm concerned, I don't even know what I'm doing here, mate. Ain't done me no favours, mate. And that's why I'm losing my temper. I want to get out of here, mate. I've got a life to live. I've got a daughter to look after. This is like being in a cemetery. This is like being in a funeral parlour, sitting here laying, and they're all looking at you thinking, fucking hell, what's wrong with this div? They want me sent back to prison. They don't want to see me go out there because they know what I'm like outside. I'm laying on this bed, I'm laying on this bed holding my head together, holding all my body together. You know what I mean? I'm suffocating in the building. How much more do they want from me, mate? I can't do nothing more, can I? But I'm all right. I'll get through it. I've got my daughter there, so I'll just look at the photo every day and just think to myself, babes, I'll be out one day. I'll be out. Not to worry, I'll get out of this. I just want to get my life together, mate. I wish I could walk right now, you know? I wish I could walk.
was 18 years old and it was coming up to Christmas, and Tony was going to a party. He went to the party, and then it was about 2-3 days after he'd been to the party, he was acting very strange. He kept saying all weird things that was happening. I thought, this ain't right. He's took something. He has definitely took something. And he said all he kept, it was, help me, mum, help me. And he just went down on the floor, help me, mum, help me, mum. Sorry. I said that we need to come to the hospital. And so I took him up to the hospital and they sectioned him there and then for 6 weeks. And I'd lost him. Tony can be very scary. He hears voices. Yeah, the voices tell him what to do. And he says he has to do it. He said, I don't want to hurt no one, but they tell me what I've got to do. I had to cut Tony off for his own good, for his own benefit. And that is very hard as a mum, when you've got to shut a door on your son. That is hard. Knowing there's nothing you can do. You've tried and you tried and you tried and you can't do no more. He's took the fight from me. The fight has gone from me. You expect your children or your kids or whoever to do well, but it never happened in his case, did it?
Should we make a cup of tea? Keep it up, yeah? Gives a pill. Gives a pill, wake me up. We'll be all right.
James has finally got a decision. His escorted leave to the local town has been approved. He hasn't been allowed outside an institution in this way since he was arrested for robbery 17 years ago.
Yes.
How you feeling?
That's all right, no problem. No stress. Eight weeks of non-smoking, you know what I mean, yeah? He's about to just go down the pan. Oh, gosh.
Generally with leave, the concerns that you've got to take into account are the likelihood of the patient disappearing, absconding. With him in particular, that's less of a concern. The greater concern is just not really coping when he's out, wanting to return very quickly, panicking and becoming very emotionally aroused, and just losing his confidence.
What a day for it! It's nice to be out of a bit of normality in that guy, yeah? Just seeing the world go by, you know what I mean, yeah? Away from the ward, you know what I mean, yeah? I love it coming up here, mate. Bundles. Yeah, it's just a different pace of life out here, isn't it, you know? At first, when I come out, I was quite bricking it, you know? Felt really unusual. I'm on leave, I'm on tag, I'm all the different aspects to it, do you know what I mean, yeah? It's like, but you just ignore it. At the end of the day, nobody don't know who I am, what I'm doing, you know? I'm just mingling in like normal people do. I am normal, you know what I mean, yeah? I've got personality disorders, doesn't mean I'm a raving lunatic. Do you know what I mean? It's all good, mate. Hello, mate. Do you do any pork belly strips? Yeah, can I have a couple of them, please, yeah? Do you know what? I've only lost me what? Yeah. Yeah, hang on a sec, mate. Yo, give us that bag. Let me check that bag a sec. Oh, that's it.
What is it you're looking for? Your wallet.
Turn that off. Fuck! All my money, my cards, all my ID, all freshly done, and I thought I'd lost a lot and now I found it, you know what I mean, yeah? What a relief, mate. I feel like I'm gonna pass out, mate. Yeah. I felt really stressed to know that, I really did. Let me just get some bit of air, mate, because I feel really,
Well, me too.
you know, stressed, mate.
James left his wallet in the record shop he visited earlier in the day.
Stress Ed, stress Ed. Oh, gosh. Do you know what? It was a test of all tests. Because internally, I was screaming. Inside, I was, ah!
I was just saying, come.
Yeah. Oh, cheers, thanks so much, mate. Appreciate you, mate. Thank you, yeah. Cheers. Lifesaver.
He's got a long way to go before I think he's ready for more extensive community leave and even beginning to think about unescorted leave. I think that's a way off. He could be moving on in the next year to 18 months. But I think that would be best case scenario, and I think he sometimes underestimates how difficult it's going to be. Yeah, he's not high and dry.
Yeah, I'm going back to the ward now, I'm depressed. I want to get back out there in my real world, get on with my life, mate. And yeah, cheers for today, mate, and thanks for your company. Cheers, mate.
As the prospect of being discharged from the Bethlem Royal becomes real, John has started to look for voluntary work.
Subject: volunteering. Dear Sir, Madam, I'm currently an inpatient with the Bethlem Royal Hospital. I currently have extensive community leave and I'm currently looking. Currently. I'd be grateful if you could let me know of any positions you have. Paragraph, yours sincerely, send. Beautiful.
Who's that?
That's me as a kid. I reckon I'm 13. With my bowl cut. But just I think it's sad because of like you know, this kid. He's not smoking. He's not drinking. Oh, good to see you around. How are you doing? And where has life taken you? See, how do you answer that? Where do you even begin with that? Where do you even start? Hi, mate. I don't even know where to start. I've been in the hospital recently, mate. I had a few psych problems. That's for the last 35 years. An email, letter or two. How do you explain 35 years?
doctors are about caring, and I take pride in the fact that I'm working with a group of patients who are probably the most dispossessed, sidelined, rejected in society. Shame and isolation for patient increases their risk. If we tackle that effectively, compassionately, we reduce the risk significantly.
We've got two options as a society. We either lock up offenders with personality disorder and they're just removed from society altogether, or my position, which is to try and get something positive out of these horrendous incidents. These individuals didn't emerge from a vacuum. They came from families who lived in streets and had neighbours, and they very much are a product of society too. And I do think we have a responsibility to think about how we support, manage, understand them. To me, the options of doing nothing just doesn't make any sense.
You just got to hold in there, Tone.
I know.
All right?
Yeah.
Just hold in there.
Yeah, I am.
But you're all right, yeah?
Come in, Mum.
Huh?
When you next going to see, when am I next going to see you?
Tony, you know the rules. It's once a month.
Once a month.
Yeah. Okay?
Right then.
All right then, and I'll speak to you soon.
Right then, love you.
All right, love you.
Love you, Mum.
Bye. Bye.